Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome inside The Lock Shop. Dusty and Hus with you here on a Wednesday, Christmas party day here at EST. Hus, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm really feeling the Christmas spirit right now, Dusty.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm here to give out the gifts. Ho 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 ho.
What's in the red Solo cup?
Spiced rum.
Yeah.
So we just had our Christmas draft, Hus, and you have had success winning Christmas drafts in the past. And
what a moment that was.
It's a very interesting time here at Edmonton Sports Talk because we have introduced relegation into our drafts. So if you don't get 10%, at least 10% of the vote, you get relegated and you're out of the next draft, replaced by disgraced commish Matthew Awanek. And we just did a Christmas draft, and there's a lot of people in the chat of the draft who were calling for me to be relegated. And I ended up stacking Clark Griswold and Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. And I guess the rest of my draft was so bad that they think I might end up getting relegated. So it's an interesting time around the office, buddy. I'm not going to lie.
Now, is there a new commissioner?
There is a new commissioner, Quinn Phillips, formerly of Global Sports, now with Explore Edmonton. She's the commish, and I thought she did a pretty solid job for her first commish.
I like it. There wasn't much. I know I've commented on this before, but Iwanek's role as commissioner, as a longtime wrestling fan, it reminds me of some of the great storylines in WWE history where there was at times a crooked commissioner trying to run it around. Although he had a lot of passion for the job and he ruled with an iron fist. I am quite interested to see. Now, was he in this one today? Or
he was. He's in as the host of the Hangout. He hosted the draft pre-show and the post-draft show. Quinn was commish, and then myself, Tommy, Eric, and Jay Milne, Glue Guy. We were all drafting today. So
whoever gets relegated next time is going to be replaced by Awanek.
If somebody gets less than 10%, if we all get more than 10% of the vote, there's no relegation. So. Yeah.
Oh, really? You have to get less than 10%.
Which is tough to do.
Very low threshold.
It's tough to do.
Well, I'll have to go in and check out. Not even your really nice high-end Santa suit could propel you to it. Who's going to win this one? Was there a clear winner?
I do think after listening back to the teams at the end of the draft, I do think EST Glue Guy, Jay Milne, is probably trending towards his first ever victory, and probably Tommy in second, and then myself and Eric at the bottom of this one. But we'll see. We'll see. Eric did quit in protest for the second consecutive draft. So we'll see how that goes.
What? Eric has major anger management issues when it comes to the draft. Like, it might be good for LTE to just sit a draft or two out because he's usually just such a calm, happy-go-lucky guy until drafting begins. And then, has he tweeted out farce yet in all caps?
Oh, he will at some point. I love the chat in the Lock Shop today. People are all over it. LTE didn't quit. It was in protest. He quit. He made a pick. He tried to draft Del Griffiths from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles again, despite the fact that it's American Thanksgiving movie and not a Christmas movie. And when the commission denied it, he got up and walked out. So he quit. Now, one of my picks that caused a lot of issues later in the draft, I took Rocky Balboa from Rocky IV because, and you might not remember this, but he defeats Drago on Christmas Day in Russia. So I thought it was a great underdog story, avenging the death of a friend on Christmas Day, having the country of Russia chant for Rocky, which was phenomenal. And apparently that has been a major issue as well. So we'll see how it plays out. But the content is real. We'll say that. There was a lot of people involved in the draft today, which was a lot of fun. Joelle says, Dustin disqualified for colluding. # justice for LTE. I needed an elf at the end of the draft. It came up that there was a female elf. The commission mentioned, well, there's still a female elf out there. And then I went and Googled and found a female elf and selected Judy from the Santa Claus. And everybody's like, oh, it's collusion with the new commission. I don't buy it necessarily, but we'll see how this plays out.
Hey, you need to be a little more inclusive on EST. So, It's nice to see you did the research. You found out that there was, in fact, a female elf and made that happen.
Bingo. So anyway, that vote will be up over at Edmonton Sports Talk at some point. And you can go and vote, and we'll see how this bad boy plays out. And we'll see if anybody gets relegated from the first ever draft with relegation involved.
If I really hope it is you. Like, that would be the greatest story. Finally, just add this in. The guy just rolling over these drafts all the time with all of your cronies.
I won the first two, and then that would suck. And imagine if there's no other relegation for like 6 months, and I got to sit these drafts out. I won't even be doing Lock Shop Roll Stream that day. I'll just leave after the show. I'll be like, you guys have fun.
You'll quit.
I'm out of here. Mind you, if a Wannick has to be, if he's in the draft, I guess we need a host. So I guess I get to host the draft, which would be, that'd be fun once or twice. We'll see how it goes. But I honestly think, I think we all get enough votes to avoid relegation in this one. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
How would you break it to the kids? How would you break it to the kids?
I couldn't. I'd have to pretend that I'm drafting somewhere else those days. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that to the kids. The uproar for this LTE farce is nonsense. Draft better and don't walk out. That's in from you, Chaz. Surveyor Brett says, commish helping only one participant to draft was something I didn't see coming.
Listen,
I love the reaction.
As someone that's been in these drafts before, you are not just going up against 3 other opponents. Dusty always he's like Vince McMahon in WWE. There's always something else that Nielsen has coming alongside. And today, apparently, collusion with the new commissioner.
Story of my life with these things.
Iwanic would never.
Well, here we are. All right. It is the, I'm just looking here. Darren Bauming just tweeted out, Evan Holm working out with the Minnesota Vikings. What do you think about that? He had a great season with the Bombers this year.
Dude, he was, to be perfectly honest, if I go back into thinking about what we were thinking about the team at the start of the year, everything that happened, the guy that emerged the most from lower expectations, Evan Holm. Now, listen, maybe if you're a younger player, a newer player, and you're playing in a defense like that, they're trying to, you get more opportunities to make plays if they're going at you. But he made guys pay all season long. Great for him that he's getting a look with an NFL team. I certainly hope that he'll be back as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber because he was an awesome, awesome part of the Winnipeg defense last year. But hey, these football careers are so short. If you can get a chance to make a little NFL money, you can't begrudge anyone from doing it. So we'll wish him luck. But there's a spot for 31 back in that Bomber secondary if he does make it back.
You can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. Or, of course, you can hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Parties, and it says, you can't even give him the pick as a damn birthday gift. It's Lieutenant Eric's birthday today as well. And, he walked out on the draft on his birthday. You would not believe, there's 15 people in this office right now. People just buzzing around because of the draft. So, a lot of fun.
Well, listen, this is it's hard to believe. This is our last lock shop together.
I know, until second week of January.
2023. What a year it has been. Some big wins, some bad beats,
I do think from a partner parlay perspective, we have over-delivered on these plus 500 and plus 600 parlays, have we not?
Well, we have. And by the way, let's not bury the lead because it wasn't us yesterday. The guy that came through was none other than P. Greggy himself, Pat Gregoire. And I did jump on that. That was a beauty. And it was a weird one. He said Nylander to get an assist and then Benson and Nikushkin to get points. Anyways, Nylander got his assist. The other guys both got points. Nichushkin actually had 2 goals. And even better, the Avs lost to the Blackhawks, which made me very happy. And they cashed that one. And shout out to the guys in chat. You want to talk about a close call. That plus 825 one that the fellas had put in with the Tage Thompson goal.
Yeah.
Benson shots over 1.5. And Steven Stamkos over 3.5 shots. Thompson got the goal. Benson got the shots. And Stamkos was 1 shot short. So, guys in the chat, don't change anything. Keep on pushing forward with great picks. And we'll keep this rolling into 2024 and the elusive quest for the perfect 11-0 playoff run. Or is it 12 now with the extra game, I guess?
I went on was it last year I went on that great run in the playoffs, or was it 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think I only missed 1 or 2. I missed 1 game going into the Super Bowl, and that was it. That was an all-time playoff run. So, I mean, it would be nice to duplicate something like that as well, or come close to it. I think that would be great. John Morant, I cashed yesterday, had him on the over 25.5. He rolled over that, hit the game winner. Like, you can't imagine a better comeback from Morant, right? Like,
yeah, game winner. I didn't really watch it. I just saw some mentions on Twitter that
he was aggressive last night.
Yeah, he hit the game winner and then told everyone that he's a dog
twice.
And
he said,
back.
"I'm a dog. I'm a dog. Back to back, I'm a dogs." So John Morant is certainly back in the association. We've got that for sure. What about the NHL last night, Hus? I mean, I'll quickly hit on the Edmonton Oilers. Special teams killed them last night. They gave up 2 power play goals, and then they gave up a shorty against when they were down 2-1 and had a power play with a chance to tie the game against an Islanders penalty kill that's just straight up trash so far this year. So major buzzkill for the Oilers. They've only scored 1 goal in each of their last 2 games. They've now lost 3 in a row. They are the streakiest team in the National Hockey League. We were talking about this a little bit earlier on today on our show. They lost 4 in a row. They won 3 in a row. They lost 3 in a row. They won 8 in a row. And now they've lost 3 in a row again. And even with that 8-game winning streak, as we head towards Christmas here, they're 7 points out of a wild card spot right now.
Well, and what, they go back-to-back against the Rangers in Jersey?
Yeah.
These next couple days, I mean, they got to get some points out of these games. We kind of mentioned that they really needed to go 2-1 in these 3 games to kind of stay – at least not lose everything that they just built up on that 8-game heater. So that'll be a crucial game tomorrow and on Friday. And listen, speaking of buzzkill, I didn't want to be the buzzkill for Oiler fans, of which there are many that join us on the Lock Shop every day. But I did use my $15 free bet that comes up on Tuesdays. And by the way, folks, if you're wondering about that, you opted in, check out the Cool Bet promos. But if you bet $30 on football, you'll get a free $15 bet on Tuesday once that cash. So I noticed that it was there. And I put it on Connor McDavid under 0.5 points at plus 375.
Come on.
The numbers for McDavid are so crazy. And it was kind of like, the Islanders are the sort of team that could potentially make that happen. But yeah, they got that early one. And it's funny, you're talking about special teams. I mean, that's the one thing the Jets have not had going for them right now. They made a switch on their power play going into this game against Detroit tonight. And you wonder where the Jets would be in the standings if their power play and their penalty kill were even league average right now. Probably be a difference in a few wins. But we got an interesting one tonight with the Red Wings coming into town. And I'm the bitterness of losing to the Habs in OT is gone now. And it's a matter of getting the win. But Islanders with that win, 3-1 last night. I'm sure you guys spent most of the morning talking about it. And McDavid a -1, 3 shots on goal, 0-0. And it doesn't happen often, but if you can, I mean, there's no bigger value on the board in fact, it's almost hard to wrap your head around that odds could be that high for a guy not to get a point in an NHL game. But I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, plus 375 against the Islanders. Worthwhile throwing the free bet on it. So we'll let that ride on something tonight. But yeah, only 3 games tonight. But hey, did you spend? Have you taken a look at your Spengler?
I didn't have time last night. I was prepping for this Christmas draft for about 2.5 hours last night, so I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a chance to get into it yet. But what I will do is I'll probably be prepping for it on the trip overseas, at least part of the way. I do find interesting though, because as far as the Spengler goes, and there's just 3 games in the NHL tonight. We'll kind of dive into those. A couple of text messages that I want to get to. We laid this out yesterday on the Spengler Cup, and I don't know my Wi-Fi's, but here we are. Team Canada, 2-1, plus 200. They're the favorite. Frölunda HC is plus 350. The Czech League team, plus 400. The 2 Swiss League teams, Davos and Ambri Piotta, are plus 475. And then Kalpa Kuopio, the Finnish team, plus 525. Last time they were in it, they won it in a shootout. Dennis Godla was their goaltender, and he was amazing in that shootout. But I do find it funny that Team Canada is the favorite at 2-1. We don't even know who's on the roster yet, and they did not come together nicely last year. They're a team that has to come together and play in a tournament against a bunch of club teams. I'm not so sure we should just expect Canada to be the favorite coming into this thing. It's weird to me. We don't even know who's going to be on the team, and they're favored at over 5 club teams, 2 of which have won the event in the last 3 years.
Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know anything about Frölunda or Davos or who's on the squad right now. But I do know that Canada, that is simply a reputation line.
Yeah.
Well, it's Canada. Of course, they've got all these great players. They'll put them together. To bring guys together at the last minute and say, just go out there and beat really good, high-end European teams that play with each other all year is a huge ask. And there's probably some real value. I just wish I had a better idea of those other 5 teams of who to jump on right now. I'm not really sure why Frölunda is plus 350 as opposed to Dynamo at 400. And interestingly, the 2 teams that you mentioned that had won are right at the bottom of the board. But here's the thing. This is a short tournament.
Yeah.
I think anything can happen. So if you're looking for an event to throw a longer shot in, the Spengler absolutely is the event to do it.
That Ambri Piotta club wants to win this more than anything else. I mean, and they come and they take it serious. That's why they haven't lost a game in the round robin tournament since they've been in it. Every game they've ever played in the round robin tournament, they have won so far in this thing. I'm just trying to take a look at the so this is why you might want to sprinkle Frölunda in this situation, because they are playing in the Swedish Hockey League, which is one of the better leagues in the world, and they are 5th right now in the standings in the Swedish league, which is a higher end league than the Finnish league. It's a higher end league than the Swiss league. Canada's just kind of putting their team together here. They're in a pretty good spot in one of the better leagues that you'll see a team in this tournament from. So I would probably say the value here is probably on Frölunda at plus 350. But we also have to remember that this is a tournament where some of these teams tell their vets, take a couple days off. We'll take some of the younger guys and play them at the Spengler Cup. So that's why I always like the Swiss team in Ambri Piotta, because nobody's taking time off here. They're adding guys. They're bringing other guys in from other Swiss League teams just for this event to try to get the bump. So
what about Davos?
Well, Davos they've had some trouble at this event. Since I've been covering it, Davos has pretty much always been a disappointment in this event. But, this means everything to them too. They would like to get back on track. They've got a Canadian now, Josh Holden. Remember Josh Holden? He's the head coach of HC Davos right now. He's in his first year. So I think he probably has these guys on track. Maybe Davos is due for a good trip at home, but I would think probably on Christmas Day, old Santa here will tweet out a few thoughts on the Spengler Cup, and everybody can kind of ride on that one today.
Yes. And I will say this: while Dusty is doing the tournament, if I come forward with some tremendous information and I'm starting to fire out a bunch of hot takes on the Spengler, Just think of it as a lock shop gift.
What's his source? What's his source? Yeah.
And Josh Holden, former Manitoba Moose.
How long did he play with the Moose for?
He was just with one season. He played in 01-02. Was a really good player. Was a strong player. That was a wild team. Steve Correa was on that team.
Steve Correa, nice.
And some of the older lock shoppers here in Winnipeg will remember Ryan Reddy and Justin Kurtz, Brian Chapman, Brian Allen ended up playing a little bit in the National Hockey League for the Vancouver Canucks. Artem Chubarov went up there. Oh man, I love going through those old Moose teams just on the where are they now. And of course, Scott Arneal, who's now the assistant coach with the Jets, had just finished playing. He was the assistant coach for Stan Smeal at that time. But back to the Spengler for a minute. I'll pick a team before the tournament starts. When's the first day of the event? Is that
Boxing Day? It'll be Boxing Day. So early morning Boxing Day for you guys. Will be when the tournament begins because it's boxing afternoon and evening for us over in Switzerland.
Well, speaking of which, while we're talking Boxing Day, this would be a good time before you go to take a quick look at the World Junior Hockey Championships odds. That is all out at CoolBet right now. And I just did, and this is coming up on WST if you want a nice primer for the tournament. Had Scott Wheeler from The Athletic come in. We banged that out this morning, so we'll have that on today's show. And Canada, looking for 3 in a row, does not seem to have the stacked team that they would have in the past. And I know they got Matt Poitras, but guys like Zach Benson staying in the National Hockey League, Logan Cooley. To me, this really comes down to the 2 favored teams, the Swedes and Team USA. And man, when we kind of went through this with Scott today, the firepower that the Americans have up front. I mean, I just think back to our days in Nashville earlier this year, doing shows from the draft. And like half of their forward group were big-time first-rounders last year, and Jet first-rounder from the year before, Rucker McGroarty, is healthy. He'll be able to play. He's been named captain today. But when I look at the odds here, I think that USA at plus 220 might be the play, even though they are the favorite. I think there's still a good enough number there. And the other thing about Sweden, as we all know, now again, they're the hosts, so probably even more pressure on the Swedes this year than normal. But they basically went for about a decade without losing a game in the round robin and never did anything in the playoffs. So I think plus 220, USA is the pick. And a couple of other interesting ones. Cutter Gauthier at 5-1 to score the most goals in the tournament. He's there with Macklin Celebrini, and I know Celebrini's going to get a lot of run because he's potentially the number 1 overall pick. He'll be playing a big role on Canada. This top line that the U.S. has, including Gauthier, could absolutely go to town in this event. And I think there might be a sprinkle. And again, it's at the top of the board right now, but there's a lot of reasons to think that Gauthier or potentially Jimmy Snuggerud, who's had a monster year. And
they do have a nice roster. Hey, holy smokes.
Dude, like Oliver Moore is the 13th forward.
What?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Like they're stacked right now. And who knows, maybe a little sprinkle on our guy Rucker, 20-1 to be the top goal scorer. And he finds a way to score goals. And he could basically be on that top line. He'll be top 6 center, top 6 left winger as well. But if you look at the guys up on that list, there is a lot of talent on the U.S. club. And it sort of looks like it's a 3-horse race. The Finns are missing, a couple players that, one's got a pretty serious sexual assault accusation or investigation, so he's not there. They've got a draft eligible kid that could end up being their number 1 center. So it doesn't seem like this is a year for Finland. And I kind of don't think it's Canada's year either. So USA or Sweden, I'm going to go with the United States. But there's a whole bunch of props you can get. There's tournament head-to-heads, USA versus Canada, Canada versus Sweden, that's up there. And then for those of you that are really locked in on Team Canada itself, you've got top goal scorer props for Canada and top point scorer props for Canada. And interestingly, that Poitras coming over from Boston, I mean, the one NHL guy, is actually behind Macklin Celebrini for top goal scorer. Celebrini's plus 270. Poitras is 4-1. But they're both at 3-1 to be Canada's top point scorer.
Lots of options there at the World Juniors. And actually, Jake had just texted us and laid it out. As far as exclusives go, there's 6 exclusives for the NHL tonight. If you go to exclusives and click on Coolbet exclusives, there's 6 NHL exclusives in there. But there's also a O Canada exclusive. Team Canada to win the World Juniors and the Spengler at 11-1. So I think, like, as part of Canadian pride, I feel like you got to sprinkle it just in case they both deliver, right? So,
you know that, and they're all going on at the same thing. You can go back between TSN stations to see.
Well, and now that it's over there, everything's in the morning, right? So in the past, it's been like when games are over here, Spengler be in the morning, World Juniors in the afternoon. So it's going to be straight up Spengler World Juniors, same time, all morning, which should be a lot of fun, I think, for hockey fans. So
yeah, well, 11-1 for those numbers. I mean, as I say, Canada plus 255 and plus 200, so that is a nice little boost for it. Why don't we take a quick look at these NHL exclusives while we have them, because there are only three games tonight in the NHL. I like this one, the naughty list: Ovi, DeBrincat, and Jarrett McCann, all not to score at plus 210. Considering that's, it's fade week on the lock shop.
Yeah.
Yesterday was McDavid under a half point. Today we're going against Ovi, DeBrincat, and McCann. Ovi the showman, Ovechkin to score and Caps to win, plus 265. The 3 Kings, Kopitar, Fiala, and Doughty, all to record a point, and the Kings to win. They didn't put Dubois in there, so at least that has got a better chance of Home for the holidays, your home teams, Caps, Jets, and Kings to win, plus 425.
I don't mind that, actually. Plus 425 on that one. As I saw Rod Z, Rod Z, there he is. The legend continues. Islanders are 0-6 in the second half of the back-to-backs. So he likes Washington money line. You like the Jets on a bounce-back spot here, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Detroit should be a desperate team. They've only won once in 7 games. They've lost 3 in a row. It's going to be Reimer versus Jets backup, Laurent Brossoit, but Brossoit's been really good the last couple of games. Here's the thing about the Jets. The Jets right now are the same team pretty much every night. The energy level might have been a bit down for that Habs game coming off that huge win against LA and the Saturday night game against the Colorado Avalanche. But structurally and at 5-on-5, they're the same team every night. Like you really do know what you're getting from Winnipeg. The special teams has been an issue, and as I mentioned, they are switching things up a little bit on the power play. But I have every reason to think that the Winnipeg Jets can win this game. And I mean, the Kings I know played last night against San Jose. They're back at it against a Kraken team that they're certainly better on. But listen, what was that number? Plus 425?
Plus 425.
425. And you're basically going with all 3 favorites, all at home. I'm in on that. I am in on that.
No, I saw that number right away. I was like, wait a second. That's a really nice number considering these 3 teams are at home tonight and some of the spots that they are in. So, yeah, I already bet it. I already got on it while you were laying it out. I went and hopped on that one right away. I think that's a juicy number right there.
I'm doing it as well. That's in. But yeah, as far as the game goes, I mean, these games go tonight. I mean, I was thinking, especially even before Rod Z mentioned that Islanders in the second half of back-to-back number, was leaning towards Washington, just considering they did play last night and, got a big win. And the Islanders are so they're just up and down. They're just, right around 500, a little bit better. You win one, you lose one. If anything, the game that actually does make me a little nervous is the biggest favorite, the Kings. Because the Kings have been incredible on the road.
Yeah, but very average at home, right?
they've been pretty, like a lot more average than they've been on the road. It's a tough divisional game, but I just think that the Kings are significantly better than the Seattle Kraken. So to have them on the card, probably would have been pushing something like that for the partner parlay. So maybe today we just jump in on the Coolbet exclusives and get that home for the holidays plus 425, which we have both locked in.
Yeah, Seattle's just a tough team to back right now, or at all. Are you surprised that they've fallen off? Like last year was such a nice little year for Seattle, but it's just not. I don't think we expected them to struggle as much as they're struggling this year, but I didn't expect them to be as good as they were last year. So they're probably somewhere in the middle here, don't you think? When it comes to the Kraken,
Dude, I still don't even know how they did it last year because their goaltending stunk. Like they're an expansion team that goes out that gets sub 900 level goaltending and still managed to make the playoffs and make some noise in it once they got there. I think this is a little regression to the mean for Seattle right now. I didn't expect them to be a playoff team. I thought there'd be some teams that would be pushing forward that would make it in. I mean, there were questions about bubble teams, if you wanted to call them like Winnipeg, that look pretty good right now. I didn't expect Vancouver to be in the lofty spot that they're in right now, but I thought they'd be in the mix and maybe take that spot from Seattle. So, and here's the other thing. I mean, on the West Coast, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've seen a ton of the Kraken. If anything, when there's a West Coast game, we're watching the Canucks, we're watching the Oilers, who often play out there, and those games with the LA Kings. But the Kings are the real deal, even with Dubois on the missing persons list right now. So I don't mind that, and I certainly add it. I'm just getting these digs in on Dubois.
I was just going to say, that's like 3 digs on Dubois, but subtly already on the lock shop today, which I got a lot of time for. Hey, I want to get to this text. This is an interesting text. It comes in from Chumpkins this morning. Morning, lock shoppers. I'm heading to Vegas for the holidays. What guaranteed win sports bet should I make down there on the weekend? And I mean, it's going to be tough on the weekend. We haven't looked ahead to the slate. I mean, it could be an NFL game they wants to get on. But you know what I was thinking, Hus? We talked about a little bit yesterday. The Niners just are so good right now. I think you probably take a look at what type of value you can get on the Niners down there and just grab a Super Bowl ticket on the Niners right now.
Yeah, well, or at least the NFC. No.
Yeah, at least the end. Yeah, of course, Chiefs fan here is going to think all of a sudden they're going to start catching footballs and scoring touchdowns. But yeah, I mean the Niners to win NFC would be a real. What was that number yesterday? Did we not go over that number yesterday? What was that at?
Yeah, well, the Niners to win the NFC is minus 111.
God,
I believe
that was what it was yesterday. It's got to. I'm going to get on that a little bit right now too.
Yeah, minus 111 to win the NFC, and to win the whole thing, they're plus 215. I mean, they're clearly. Now, if you're there for this weekend, and I know we haven't done all of our picks just quite yet. Let's see if there's any game that just really stands out that I absolutely love. By the way, the Bucs are now 1-point favorites over your Jags in that big battle of Florida. People are loving Baker Mayfield again after his big win in Lambeau last week. Dallas, Miami. Oof. I assume Tyreek Hill will be back for that game. Tell you what, if you're there and you want to cash a ticket while you're there, I actually think I like the Niners to cover the 5.5 against the Ravens in that game. Like, I think this is another statement game for San Francisco.
Really? Well, we laid it out last week. They've beaten everybody by 12 or 13 for like the last six games, right? They've been absolutely rolling. They're at home in that spot. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, and let's think about Baltimore the last little while. Like, I thought Baltimore was really fortunate to win by as much as they did against the Jags. I mean, you had McManus miss those 2 field goals in the first half, and then Trevor Lawrence was rolling and inexplicably fumbled in the red zone. I mean, that's a minimum of 9 points off the board that they didn't have, and that really changed the game later on. Go back to the week before. They should have lost that game at home to the Rams. I mean, the Rams had the ball in overtime after getting the Ravens 3-and-out, and they took a freaking delay of game penalty coming out of a timeout. It was brutal. And then ended up punting, and the Ravens returned a punt. Listen, the Niners, like, I know the Ravens have the same record, but this goes back to the point earlier this week. San Francisco's here and everybody else is here. So if you're just going down and you're going to set up shop after spending a drunken Christmas in Vegas, I don't mind the Niners at -5.5 to get you a little extra Christmas money for Boxing Day when you're down there. But what a game that should be. And then the other game, do you got any lean right now on this Cowboys-Dolphins game?
Well, not on the well, I have laid out my picks for this weekend because I'm not around tomorrow. So I was gonna give you those today. You can kind of pass them along to the boys.
Why don't we do that right now?
No, I can definitely get through those. I will say the Cowboys, Dolphins. I'm not. That's not among my top 4 picks. So I haven't really dove into that game so much. But +1.5 is an interesting number, man. I think I'd probably be on the Dolphins side of this thing at 1.5. If that's where we're going to go on it. But
-122 on the money line as well.
Yeah. No, that's a nice money line number on that game too. All right. So here's what I'm going to roll out this week. First of all, I guess I'm not going to rank them in order of how I like them, but I do love the Colts +1 against the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons have been, this is more, the Falcons last week were extremely disappointing. Overall, they've disappointed most of the year. But I think we've said multiple times here, or it's on our show, or you here, or you in WST, I believe we are both Gardner Minshew guys.
Absolutely.
And Gardner Minshew has done an amazing, they've been better with Minshew than they were before without Minshew. And it's just, that's just reality.
Totally.
Like, that's just what it is. So the Colts as a 1-point dog, if you want to get them on the money line right now, -102, I cannot be convinced to not be on Indy as a slight dog at Atlanta this week. I mean, look at what Indy's fighting for right now, and look at the way that they played with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. So I love the fact that we're actually getting at least 1 point with the Indianapolis Colts. So Colts will be one of the plays that I toss on the card this week for sure. The other 3 games, I've got like 4 other games that I'm kind of looking at. I am gonna ride with Jacksonville on the road against the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, I've been up and down on the Jags this year. I don't know if the Jags are necessarily elite at anything, but I think they're pretty good at a lot of things. So I'm gonna take the Jags here once again as a 1-point dog. If you like them on the money line, -105. I'm gonna get on the Cardinals as a 4-point dog on the road in Chicago against the Bears. Now, I don't know how much of this was the Niners weren't overly concerned anyway, but I thought the Cardinals did some pretty decent things against the Niners last week. You know, you're getting 4 points on the road against the Chicago team that the best way you can describe them right now is inconsistent. So I was against the Cards last week. I love the Niners to crush them. They did. It was by 16, I think, when it was all said and done or whatever it was. The spread in that game was 12. They're getting 4 points here going into Chicago against the Bears. So I'm going to take the Cardinals plus the 4 points. I'm going to get on the Jags as a road dog as well. I'm going to be on the Colts as a road dog. And then, I mean, if people want to stay away from this one with me, that's fine. But I am going to go in the dome with the indoor Cats, the Detroit Lions, 3-point road favorite against the Minnesota Vikings. It will kill me if they lose is one thing. So I'm going to get on them to cover here. We saw what they did last week. I mean, they were phenomenal last week offensively. Jared Goff was a stud. And the Minnesota Vikings, well, they do have a couple of really nice weapons at receiver. They had nice games last week. I'm still not buying into what they're selling at quarterback, even against the Lions subpar D. So they probably score points, but I see Detroit 27-20-ish. In this football game on the road against the Vikings, which will essentially lock up the division. So this is a big game for Detroit to just get this taken care of with the head coach who is the favorite right now to win head coach of the year, and my man Dan Campbell. So I'm going to ride with the Detroit Lions. Wait a second. Am I allowed to do this?
You're allowed to make your own picks.
They're just not.
Yeah, we're just not putting the Lions in any partner parlay for these 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to go Detroit.
Has been upheld.
I'm going to go Detroit -3 on the road in Minnesota. They screwed us last week. Although, where do you come out on Denver and New England? 6.5. It's a pretty big number, but I don't hate Denver in an important bounce back spot against a Pats team that, let's be honest with you, they're a mess.
Denver, oh man. Yes, I agree with you on that. I do think Denver's better. And let's not forget, the Patriots need to maintain their spot at the bottom of the standings to get this pick. Although I'm not sure how much Bill Belichick cares about that right now if he's not going to be there. Denver on the road. The Patriots defense is pretty good. That much I will say. I have some tough decisions.
Well, Denver's they're at home here though, right? They're at home in this one.
Oh, that's a home game.
That's a home game for Denver against New England. That's why the 6.5. I would not swallow Denver minus 6.5 on the road. But Denver at home minus 6.5 against New England, I think that's a little bit of a different story. I don't hate that one either. I could be convinced. I mean, I guess I'm just passing along some thoughts for a little parlay you guys put together tomorrow. I'm not opposed to Denver in that spot. I'll definitely. I mean, the money line's minus 303. I might sprinkle that into a couple of parlays on the weekend. But 6.5, I think, is interesting for them at home.
Yeah, you know what? I like Denver in that spot.
Even at the 6.5, right? Like,
unless what happens if Nathan Rourke comes in the second half and reminds everyone that there's some ballers,
the hero,
north of the border,
the hero,
Canadian Football League.
Yeah, that would be something.
He would be so hated by the Patriots fans if he gets picked up off waivers, goes in, wins 2 games, and then knocks them out of the top 3.
They'll never forgive him.
One of those quarterbacks.
They'll never forgive him. I sure hope he gets a look there, man. I think that would be nice. But yeah, I mean, for the partner parlay tomorrow, I would highly suggest we have Indy involved in it somehow. And then any of those other picks.
You know what we should do is we should put together. Like I can do a partner parlay with those guys, and we'll kind of know what your picks are if we want to put them in. But we should put together just a ride with Dusty. I mean, if I'm considering your picks, you should take Colts money line, you should take Jags money line, and hell, maybe just take what happens if you just do this? Lions to win, Colts to win, Jags to win, plus 508.
Yeah, that's a pretty good number.
I mean, you've picked all those teams. And
just to win at plus 508. Yeah.
And that way you don't have to worry about the 3 points or 2.5 or 3.5 or whatever with the Lions. And you're putting, money line for 1 point dogs. What's really the difference? I mean, you could take it to a half. They're not going to be ties. So
part of me wants to get Denver in here somehow. What's the Denver money line? What's that make it?
Denver money line takes
plus
it
314.
From plus 508 to plus 708.
Oh, if it was to add it on top of it, yeah.
Well, the reason why I put those other 3 is they were 3 of your best bets.
Yeah,
so you got those ones in.
Yeah, I like that idea. Let's so Detroit, Jacksonville, they're all okay. Yeah, no, I like that. I was looking at my other one with Arizona and Chicago. I'm not going to take Arizona to win out right there. And I think I like the other team's money line more than the plus 4 for that one. So yeah, let's pass that along to the boys. Jacksonville, Indy, Detroit, money line, all 3 games on the road. And let's see if they can get that done. Dusty's road dog parlay.
Are you going to add it goes from 5, like just over 5-1 to over 7-1 if you add in the Broncos
money line?
Yeah.
Okay, do that then. Toss that into. Let's do that too. Yeah, because that's only minus 303. That's a pretty safe one to throw in there, I think.
Detroit, Indy, Jags, Denver, all together plus 708. They'll probably throw that up with that like plus 750.
Yeah, Jake says we should have been on Detroit last week. Would have been a great move by us. Turn our backs on the boycott. This is not a partner parlay. This is a ride with Dusty. I'm going to throw the Detroit Lions on their money line on the road and Mini to basically lock up a real nice playoff spot if they can get that job done against Minnesota this week. And then, tomorrow on the Lock Shop, you'll be joined by, I don't know how many of the Cool Bet boys, but
Jake for sure. I think Pat as well.
The whole crew. That'd be great.
We'll roll out our favorite picks for the weekend.
Get Indy in there. Get Indy in there. We need him.
Trust me, I'm with you on Indy. That would be, you know what, Indy, we can lock it in on the partner parlay 100%.
One if it's just one of the boys, then you each only need to add another one. Come here, you can come say bye-bye. That's okay. My kids are here today. They came by. They're off school today, so they're here. Come here, Lizzie. You can come see. Come right over here.
I'll wish the gang a Merry
Christmas.
Here.
Say Merry Christmas to Hus. Come here. Say Merry Christmas, Lock Shoppers.
Merry Christmas.
Lock Shoppers.
Lock Shoppers.
Yeah, that's good.
Lock Shoppers.
Hey, Elizabeth. Oh, great outfit,
come on here, Marsh.
too.
Get in here. There he is.
Marsh, what's up?
Merry Christmas. Say it into the mic, bud.
Merry Christmas, Lock Shoppers.
Marsh, do you like who do you like? Do you think the Oilers will beat the Rangers and Devils in back-to-backs? No.
Maybe. I hope they do.
All right, there we go. All right, you guys get home. I'll see you after, okay? All right, thanks for coming by today.
Hey, tell Marsh we the Bombers are re-signing a lot of those players, and we're coming back next year and doing it again.
Come here quickly. I got some news Hus wants to pass along. Slide out there, Lizzie. Come here, Marsh. We'll get his reaction here. So here, let me see just a sec. Can you hear what Hus has to say there? Okay, come in here.
Marsh, can you hear me okay?
Can you hear him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Marsh, good news. Pat Neufeld's back protecting Zach Caleros, making road graders. You probably heard Willie Jefferson's back, king of the Bomber defense. And there's a bunch more re-signings for the Bombers to try and keep this group together. And I saw a number of them at their Christmas party this week.
What?
And let's just say that there is every intention of winning the West again and getting back to the Grey Cup and ending up on top. So I know you're a big Bomber fan. Nick Dembski's looking good right now.
Nice.
Skating a lot. Hey, Nick Dembski's a great hockey player too, eh?
Really?
What?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty awesome. Here, Marsh, I'll ask you this. Who, if they could only re-sign one, would it rather be Dalton Schoen or Brady Oliveira?
Dalton Schoen.
Dalton Schoen. Wow. Interesting decision.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Analytics guy.
Yeah.
You realize
big analytics guy.
A lot of good running backs.
Got to get that ball. Yeah, exactly. He's a big Johnny Augustine guy. He always has been. So he wants to see him have success. Okay, I'll see you guys at home later.
How do the kids like the new setup there at EST?
Oh, it's fun. I think were they just playing video games? Yeah, they were just playing Nintendo, so they love it here. So it's it's like us. We love it here too. So it's
a big kids playground.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's not bad. All right. So let's see here. Those are my picks for the NFL. I'll get some Spengler stuff to you guys once I get over there and start diving into these rosters a little bit. But I do like. I wouldn't touch Canada yet until we see the roster, I guess, is what I would say. It's just that's a tough spot to be in. Only 3 games tonight in the national. What's the Jets' schedule like here over the next little while?
We got the Red Wings tonight, and then Friday night Boston Bruins heading into the holidays. So that'll be a great one. Jets have played very well against Boston in the past. Boston's actually got a tough home they had that wild game with the Wild. That was not good alliteration yesterday, but lost to the Wild last night, I believe in overtime or a shootout. They're back in Minnesota on Saturday, but first up, Jets on Friday night. So we'll be hitting that hard on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Tomorrow in the Lock Shop, we'll do our full NFL plays for the week. Crank out a partner parlay. Wish everybody a happy holidays. And then for that following week without regular shows, just stay tuned to our social feeds. We'll do a couple of videos. Maybe I'll see if Jake and Patty can get us some picks for the College Bowl game.
That'd be good. Yeah.
They're all over as well. But yeah, man, listen, happy Merry Christmas to you and the fam. Have a great trip. My phone will always be on for intel on the Spengler Cup.
For Lunda, -1.5.
But hey, all in all seriousness, what a wild year. I mean, we started it off. You were in a different spot.
Yeah, it's true, buddy.
We made big moves this year. The Lock Shop continues to grow. We got to thank Pat, Jake, and the great support of CoolBet and the great support of everyone in the chat as it continues to grow. all the Rod Z's of the world throwing in some great suggestions or offerings.
And American Hockey League guy who popped in that one time with his offering as well. Lock Shop offerings. It's a great thing. It's an amazing thing.
That was one of the picks of the year.
Oh,
I mean, if we did a top 10
100%.
Lock Shop picks of the year, that
we should keep track of that for next year
over.
and just get like a mix of like 20 that we can consider for pick of the year. You know,
You know what? New Year's resolution for the Lock Shop. Yes, some record keeping. A little bit better of, you can always keep your record when it comes to sports betting because you know how your account's looking. But as far as our favorite parlays and whatnot, we will do that. But listen, man, travel safe. Have a great time out there. And I'll hold it down with the boys while you're gone and look forward to getting it back for 2024.
We'll see you in the new year, buddy. Have a good show today.
Right on. Merry Christmas, Lock Shoppers. Thanks for everything in 2023.
All right, let's get into your Fantasy Football 5. This will probably be the final Fantasy Football 5 of the year. I'm going to be gone until after the next Fantasy Football playoffs are done. So a huge thanks to everybody for chiming in on Fantasy Football 5. I can maybe get into a few things that I have learned this year as well with fantasy football. So we'll go there. As always, all of our NFL content brought to you by Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. You would have been joining Lieutenant Eric there Monday and Thursday nights all throughout the entire football season. And start to make plans. We are going to have a kick-ass Super Bowl party at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Super Bowl Sunday. Cannot wait for that. If you have any fantasy questions, we can feel free to get to those. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Duck Dad says, Fantasy Hockey 5? I don't know. We could do what it would probably end up being is I'll throw in when Hus has to go to Winnipeg Sports Talk with about 10 minutes left. That's why we usually wrap up Lock Shop when we do. What I can probably do at the end of Lock Shop is maybe talk a little fantasy hockey. If that gets people excited, I think we could probably do that. Mark is asking Zay Flowers or Garrett Wilson this week. I would probably be on Zay Flowers. He gets used in a unique way in that offense, more so than Garrett Wilson with the Jets that have been a little bit of a trouble. Jack is asking, did you start Purdy or Dak this week? I guess there could be a few of you. Like Purdy, I always sit here all the time and just complain about all of the fantasy football busts as opposed to look at the fantasy football guys who have actually, become league winners for you. But Purdy versus the Ravens or Dak versus the Dolphins. Two huge matchups. I'll just say instantly off the top of my head, I thought Dak. I don't know. I'm thinking Dak. Let me see what we got. This is going to be a close one, I would think. Let me check out the Week 16 rankings to see where these guys are at. Take a look at the consensus over on Fantasy Pros here because I don't know. I'm feeling Dak here. They've got Dak at 3 and Purdy at 7. Yeah, I know what Miami did last week, but look who Miami did that to last week, right? They shut out the Jets. The 4 of us sitting around, 5 of us, YouTube, Trev, and Eric, and Tommy, and Maddie, and I could shut out the Jets. So probably a bounce-back spot here for the Dallas offense. So I'd probably go Dak in that spot. Tango says Pittman or Connor in flex. I'd go Pittman. Pittman has just been an absolute target monster with Gardner Minshew at quarterback there as well. Mark says you're really going to bench the current MVP favorite? Yes, Mark. I am. I am going to bench the MVP favorite simply because I think Christian McCaffrey has a better case for MVP than Brock Purdy. Let's be honest. What would Brock Purdy be without Christian McCaffrey? What would he be? I don't think it'd be much. What was he before Christian McCaffrey rolled in? I'm just looking back at the hit on Pittman. What is the status on Pittman right now? And that was a nasty hit. What's the latest on Pittman? I'm searching on Twitter right now to find the absolute latest. Oh, I see he's going to be a free agent this year. That'll be interesting. Good list of free agents, actually. 2024 upcoming free agent wide receivers. Evans, OBJ, Calvin Ridley, Marquise Brown, T. Higgins. Yeah. I'll be interested to see if they can keep T. Higgins. I'd like to see him go be a true number one somewhere, but I have him in a few dynasty leagues, so I'm a little hoping that he's back there. We got Oilers line combinations in practice. We're going to get to that coming up here on the Oil Stream as well. If Pittman plays, you're gonna start him. I mean, he's been outstanding, but keep the reports on that one. Jack says it's crazy that McCaffrey isn't an MVP talk. It always goes to a quarterback. Yeah, but McCaffrey's on the verge here, depending on these last three games go. He could have the best touchdown season for a running back ever. So I think at that point he might get in the mix, which is why I still think it's okay to sprinkle him over at CoolBet. All right, Oil Stream's coming up. We're going to dive into these line combinations for the Oilers as they move a couple pieces around again. That'll be interesting, including Connor Brown as the odd man out. What? We'll get into that on the Oil Stream, myself and Tommy Gazzola. Hey, great run this year with the Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino. And we'll still mix in a lot of fantasy talk in the Lock Shop. In fact, it probably just leads to a little bit more fantasy talk on the Lock Shop as well.